Good evening to all, and welcome to this very special event. As we hear tonight from the Capital Markets Integrity Corporation, in an effort to help us answer this most pressing question, how are your investments protected? I'm Robbi Samson, Mindanao Business Development Section Head for First Metro Securities, and I will be your host for this evening. We are excited to showcase to you this one-of-a-kind event, a partnership between First Metro Securities and the CMIC. This being the country's Investor Protection Week, our goal is to help all investors in the Philippines understand better the measures being taken in order to ensure the safety and legitimacy of the investment assets in the country. There is indeed a lot of good happening behind the scenes, so let's get right onto it. Our first speaker for tonight is the Assistant Vice President and Head of the Investigation and Enforcement Department of the Capital Markets Integrity Corporation. Prior to joining the CMIC in 2012, he was an associate at his father's law office and subsequently an in-house counsel of a company based in Makati. He was also part of the 8th Asia Securities Forum Tokyo Roundtable. Furthermore, he attended various seminars and trainings sponsored by the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Financial Regulators Training Initiative, particularly the regional seminar on enforcement, including cross-border in Shanghai, China, and the regional seminar on enforcement and litigation in Colombo, Sri Lanka. He finished his undergraduate and law studies at the Ateneo and San Sebastian, respectively. He took the bar examinations in September 2009 and was admitted to the Philippine Bar the following year. With that, please allow me to welcome Attorney Jose Martin General. Attorney, take it away.
Good evening to all the viewers. We have been requested to discuss the interest of the investors. All right. So this evening discussing the how we protect the interest of the investors. So actually, the first portion of our presentation will be focusing on the Capital Markets Integrity Corporation, the company that we represent. What are our functions? What are our departments, and we actually protect the interests of the investors. The second half will be discussed by my co-officer of the CMIC. That discussion will be focusing more on the issues that the investors face, the consequences of these issues, and how we can remedy these problems or these issues. The CMIC, the Capital Markets Integrity Corporation, we are actually the independent audit, surveillance, investigation, and enforcement unit of the Philippine Stock Exchange. We in the late 2010s or the early 2000s, the Philippine Stock Exchange, the board of directors of the Philippine Stock Exchange, decided to spin off its market regulation division into a separate independent corporation. So in 2011, after the board of directors of the PSE finally decided to spin off its MRD, or the market regulation division, the CMIC was incorporated. And a year later, in 2012, we were granted by the Securities Exchange Commission an SRO status, or self-regulatory organization status. And in March 2012, we were finally operational. And we were in 2012, so we were granted by the CMIC our self-regulatory organization status, or SRO status. So also in the same year, our CMIC rules, or the rules that we actually implement, were also given. So you may ask, what is an SRO? What is a self-regulatory organization? An SRO is actually an entity which may draft or create rules that should be members by its members are the trading participants, or the stock brokerage firms that are also members of the Philippine Stock Exchange. So the trading participants are expected to comply with this or being securities laws, or with these rules that are being administered by the CMIC. These rules are provided by, of course, we have the CMIC rules. We also have the revised trading rules by the Philippine Stock Exchange, and we have the implementing guidelines of these revised trading rules. And of course, we have the SRC, or the Securities Regulation Code, and its implementing guidelines, or no, the implementing rules and regulations of the SRC. So among other securities laws, those are the rules that should be complied with by the trading participants or by the brokerage firms. So apart from drafting rules, or apart from creating these rules, we may also impose disciplinary actions or penalties on any trading participant or any member of the CMIC or the PSE that may be found to be in violation of the securities laws or by the rules as mentioned. So, what are these disciplinary actions, or what are these penalties that may be imposed by CMIC on this trading participants or brokerage firms? Of course, we have suspension. This may actually be just a one-day suspension, or it may even be in the form of an involuntary suspension wherein CMIC takes over the operations of the trading participant or the broker. Apart from suspension, we also have the impossibility. Under our rules, the minimum amount that may be imposed on a erring trading participant is 10,000, and actually we can impose as high as as high as 250,000, even in the millions. That would depend on the findings by CMIC, or depending on the count of violations committed by the trading participant. So, okay, so that's a self-regulatory organization. We are an entity that draft securities laws or rules that should be complied with by the trading participant, and we actually also impose disciplinary actions. So, the jurisdiction of CMIC. So, CMIC has the jurisdiction to investigate any securities laws violations committed by the trading participants. So, as mentioned earlier, in cases wherein there is a finding of a violation by the trading participant, CMIC can actually come in and actually initiate a case, or conduct an examination, or an investigation. And after this examination or investigation, the appropriate disciplinary actions may be actually imposed. Okay, so apart from these securities laws violations by the trading participants, we may also assume jurisdiction over cases involving trading related irregularities and unusual trading activities, which may be committed by the issuers or the listed companies. So, apart from having jurisdiction over trading participants, we may also assume jurisdiction over cases involving the listed companies or the issuers, but it's only limited to trading related irregularities and unusual trading activities. So, in cases wherein our surveillance team monitors any trading related irregularity or unusual trading activity, which may be committed by a listed company, we can actually impose a restriction, a suspension, or halt orders. But of course, this should be done in concurrence with the PSE. So, for example, a listed company A, is involved in the market manipulation, or is involved in an instance of painting the tape, or if there is any irregular movement, in the discretion of CMIC and with the concurrence of the PSE, the trading of the shares of this listed company may actually be halted, be restricted, or be suspended. So that's actually the jurisdiction of CMIC. What are the core departments of CMIC? We actually have three. We have the Investigation Enforcement Department, or IED. We have the Surveillance Department, or SD. And finally, we have the Audit and Compliance Department, or the ACD. The Investigation Enforcement Department actually receives complaints from the investors, or these are the customers or the clients of the trading participants. So, in cases wherein they have claims or they have complaints against, for example, the associated person, the trader, the salesman, or the nominee, or even the president of a particular brokerage firm or trading participant, the client may actually file a complaint with the CMIC. So, under our rules, we actually prescribe a form. It should be the complaint should actually be signed by the customer, and it should be addressed to our president. It should also contain the specifics of the complaint for us to duly assess the merit of this claim or complaint. But in several instances, we may also actually also receive anonymous complaints from investors who wish to file their complaints or claims anonymously. Pwede naman po yun. Actually, apart from receiving anonymous complaints, we also receive tips from not only customers but also from other market participants. As long as there is a ground for the initiation of an investigation or an examination, whether there is a formal complaint submitted or whether there is just a claim without having to name the complainant, or there is just a simple tip, we may actually initiate an investigation or an examination as long as it is for the enforcement of the securities laws. Okay, so the surveillance department, this is our team that monitors the market. We have our surveillance system, which we have acquired from the KRX, or the Korea Exchange. We call it the Total Market Surveillance System. So they monitor the market movements. And finally, we have the ACD, or the Audit and Compliance Department. This is the department that conducts regular, SPAT, or special audits of the books and records of the trading participants. So, okay, so to go to the specifics, so how do we conduct investigations? So, of course, we have, as mentioned earlier, we have investor complaints. Whenever a client feels aggrieved by the actions of a trading participant, of course, it is expected that the customer, the client, makes known his grievances to the trading participant. And if the trading participant fails to address this claim or complaint, the customer may actually file the complaint with CMIC. So the Investigation Enforcement Department usually handles this complaint. So initially, we assess the merit of the complaint, and within 2 trading days from receipt of the complaint, if we deem that the complaint is there's a justification for the initiation of investigation, we will be directing the involved trading participant to file a written explanation. So this is in the form of a show cause letter addressed to the trading participant, asking that brokerage firm to file a written explanation. We usually give the brokerage firm 10 trading days from receipt of the show cause letter to file the written explanation. And after receiving the written explanation, we will be furnishing the customer a copy of this written explanation, and in turn, the customer will be directed to file an answer or a reply to the written explanation. Then after receiving the reply, we will be directing the trading participant to file a rejoinder. And after receiving this pleadings, we will be finally conducting what we call an informal hearing, wherein the parties, such as the complainant and the trading participant, will be discussing the issues relative to the case or to the complaint. And after the conduct of this informal hearing, we will be finally drafting the resolution. So the resolution may actually contain our decision on the complaint. This may involve actually the imposition of disciplinary actions, if appropriate, or sometimes we may actually dismiss the case if the circumstances thereof do not warrant the imposition of any disciplinary action. We also have cases initiated by the surveillance department. These are actually the matters that originate from the surveillance function of our surveillance department, or by our SD. So whenever that department monitors any abnormal movements in the market, they will prepare what they call an incident validation report, or an IVR, or a preliminary report. And these reports will actually contain the circumstances of their investigation, and they will actually be recommending to the IED, or to the investigation department, the further investigation of this report, or of this matter. After the drafting of the report, or the IVR, or the PR, the surveillance department will be forwarding these reports to the IED for further investigation. So in these cases, there is no private complainant involved. There may be several parties involved, such as the beneficial owners or the clients that that were involved in the transactions or the trades. We also have the listed companies, we have the trading participants, and we have other market participants. So the procedures for conducting, or for conducting the investigation of cases endorsed by the surveillance department may be similar to the cases involving investor complaints, but it will be shorter, considering that we will only be requiring the trading participant to file a written explanation, and then after receiving the written explanation, we will be drafting the resolution. So the resolution would actually contain almost the same contents as the resolutions involving investor complaints. Of course, the trading participant may be penalized, or the case may be dismissed. So, okay, we also have special cases. So in the absence of investor complaints, cases endorsed by our surveillance department, considering that CMIC enforces the securities laws, we may actually initiate on our own special cases. In other words, if we deem that a certain incident or a certain event should be investigated, even in the absence, or even if there is a lack of a private complainant or an endorsement for our surveillance department, we can actually initiate these special cases. So this usually involve the trading participants, or in some cases the listed companies. So we also conduct our investigatory powers by also dealing with other matters, such as if we receive tips, we may direct the involved parties to submit a written explanation. And in those cases, we may also impose disciplinary actions. Okay, earlier we discussed the cases endorsed by our surveillance department. And I've mentioned that for surveillance department endorsed cases, there are several parties that may be involved. So we know that whenever we enter trades in the market, there are several parties. We have the trading participant that executes the trades, or the trading participant that executes the trades. We have the issuers or the listed companies that list their shares in the market or in the PSE, and we have the beneficial owners or the clients or the customers of this trading participants. So for any case involving trading related irregularities, market manipulation, insider trading, these parties may actually be involved, and they may actually commit several violations of the securities laws. But again, we have to emphasize that CMIC has limited jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction is principally over trading participants, and in a limited sense, the listed companies or the issuers. So you may ask, so what about the violations committed by the beneficial owners? For example, if the beneficial owners or the customers themselves committed wash sales, or they bought or they sold the same shares without any change in beneficial ownership. So how do we handle these cases? So considering our limited jurisdiction, we have to endorse these cases to another regulatory authority which may assume jurisdiction over this issue or over this case. What is that regulatory authority? That is the Securities Exchange Commission. So for any violations, possible violations committed by the customers or by the clients or by the investors themselves, this may be endorsed to the Securities Exchange Commission, which of course may initiate a case against these parties. But of course, for violations committed by the trading participants, for example, they're failed by to notify us of the possible beneficial owners, because CMIC may assume jurisdiction and may actually impose disciplinary actions on company, trading participants, or brokerage firms. And for issuers or listed companies, as mentioned earlier, we may order the suspension, the halting of the trading of their shares. And also we may, for the listing or disclosure violations, for example, if they committed a violation of the consolidated listing and disclosure rules of the PSE, considering that the PSE has jurisdiction over these violations or over these cases, CMIC will be endorsing this to the exchange. Okay, so that's the violations of the listing and disclosure rules. So of course, we really have to stress the delineation of jurisdiction with regard to these cases. So surveillance, as mentioned earlier, we have them, which is the TMS, or the total market surveillance. So we monitor the trades in real time. So in other words, we monitor during market hours. So whenever there are trades entered in the market, our surveillance department makes sure that those are monitored. So apart from this, although we do monitor them in real time, of course, the reports or any investigations may be conducted after market hours. So we'll review these trades and we'll prepare these reports, which will be endorsed to the investigation and enforcement department. Detect abnormal trades or suspicious transactions. So of course, our surveillance system has an alert system or alert function. So if in case there is a abnormal movement, the surveillance system will actually monitor that. So that may also, this abnormal trades and suspicious transactions may also be used as a basis for the drafting of the report or the IVR or the PR. And apart from that, we also analyze this current news. So the listed companies are actually required to disclose or to disseminate to the public any material information. So the disclosure rules or the listing rules require the listed companies or the issuers to release this material information within a certain period. So after the release of that information, our surveillance system will actually assess whether the movements or abnormal movements could have been justified by the disclosures. So they will actually see the connection between the disclosures made by the issuers vis-a-vis the movements in the market. Apart from that, apart from the disclosure and the news analysis, our surveillance department also evaluates the trades, but they will be connecting this to the previous data, what they call the historical data. So, for example, a client has been trading substantially for the past 3 weeks. Our surveillance department will actually go back to as far that's like 3 or 4 years ago. So, or that would depend actually on the circumstances of the case. But for this particular case, our surveillance department may actually look at the previous trades or the previous inclinations of the particular trader or client. So actually, this may also be used as a basis for the drafting of the preliminary report. Okay, so these functions are after monitoring the trades, after detecting the abnormal movements or abnormal trades, and think that they're analyzing the disclosure trades, the present trades with the previous trades of the concerned parties. Of course, our surveillance system or our surveillance department will actually use them as a basis for the drafting of the report, which will be endorsed now to the investigation enforcement department for proper action. Okay, so audit. So how do we do our audit examinations? We actually have three classes of examinations that our audit and compliance department conducts. We have first the regular audits. These are the annual audits of the books and records of the trading participants. So we have an audit program which is prepared by our audit and compliance department, which is also approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission before such program is implemented. Okay, so that is done annually, and recently we have been conducting a regular audit of all the books and records of all the trading participants. We also have the spot audits. The spot audits are based on certain parameters established by our audit and compliance department. And finally, we have our special audit. The special audit is actually an audit or an examination which is requested by the investigation enforcement department. So in cases wherein there is a certain claim of a customer which may be only duly resolved if there is a rigorous or at least a technical analysis of the data presented, the investigation enforcement department actually requests the audit and compliance special audit. So this special audit will actually assist the investigation enforcement department in resolving the allegation, in resolving the complaint, in verifying. The special audit is actually conducted in the process of resolving the complaint filed by the customer or by the customers. So now that we have discussed the functions and the CMIC, we will now be discussing the transparency and legitimacy issues that are usually faced by our investors or by our viewers. So what are these common transparency and legitimacy issues? Firstly, we have the identification of legitimate trading participants. So you may have heard there are a number of scammers or a number of fraudsters that that victimize investors. It is really imperative that the investors or prospective investors see to it that the persons they are dealing with are actually legitimate. Website under our based on our it actually has a list of these legitimate trading participants or brokerage firms. You're dealing with any entity or any person that is not listed on our website, or at least on the website of the Philippine Stock Exchange, or even by the on the SEC website. You must exercise the necessary precautions. Apart from that, apart from identifying legitimate trading participants or brokerage firms, another issue would be the mismanagement and other securities laws violations by issuers and trading participants. So in the past, we have actually suspended several trading participants due to mismanagement and securities laws violations. Usually, this would involve financial mismanagement, wherein the trading participant or brokerage firm can no longer address the demands of the client for the transfer of their shares or for the delivery of their securities. So in these cases, we actually file a petition for the takeover of operations with the Securities Exchange Commission. And the Securities Exchange Commission, if decides that there is merit filing of the petition for takeover, will direct CMIC to take over the operations of that particular trading participant. And CMIC in turn will actually be authorized to distribute the remaining assets and other trade-related assets of the trading participant in favor of the clients or the customers. Another issue would be the access to material information. Of course, being investors or being stakeholders, of course, you have a right to have access to material information or the books and records of the corporation or of the brokerage firm, and even data relevant to your account. So the trading participant or the brokerage firm actually has to issue statements of account. They also have to issue confirmations. Our rules actually impose the reglementary period for the submission, or at least for the making available of these records to the clients or to the customers. So another issue would be the enforcement of other investor rights. So being an investor, you of course you have several rights. One of this would be the right to vote. So usually the complaints of the investors is their failure to receive any notices of the conduct of the holding of the annual stockholders meetings. So under our laws, the corporation actually has to notify in advance the shareholders with regard to the conduct of the annual stockholders meeting, because during these events, of course, you will be exercising your right to vote or to have a participation in the management of the corporation. Of course, the customers also have the right to rely on the completeness, accuracy, and truthfulness of the records of the trading participants or of the company. So they may actually their decision, for example, to trade or based to be involved in a search on the accuracy or the truthfulness of any of the books and records of the company or the trading participant. This involves, of course, the financial statements. So the last right would be, of course, to they have the right, or the investor has the right to expect that the board or the management of the trading participant or of the company are compliant with the rules. So these are actually the transparency and legitimacy issues that are commonly faced by the investors or by our viewers. So the latter part, or the second half of the discussion, will actually be my co-officer, Ms. Grace Calubaquib, will be discussing the remedies or the consequences of these issues or problems faced by our investors, and how do we remedy them. So that ends my discussion.
Thank you so much, attorney. And it is indeed very nice to be able to take a quick peek behind the curtain, so to speak, on what measures are being taken in order to protect the interests of investors in the country. So again, thank you very much po for that very insightful discussion. But that's not all. Our next speaker will offer even more investor protection insights. She is actually one of the pioneers of CMIC, and she was responsible for launching the surveillance system being utilized by the company. Her field of expertise includes capital markets, non-life insurance, banking, and CPM/BPO. And she has 15 years of experience in the IT industry and 21 years in the capital markets. She has also worked offshore, CMC markets in London, UK, and conducts seminars in market manipulation, securities regulation, and investor safeguards to various entities. She is also part of the resource speakers for the Equity Securities Salesman Certification of the SEC, and additionally has served as faculty pool for the PSE Certified Security Specialist course, teaching ethics in asset management and corporate governance. Lastly, she is also a PRPC certified system architect. With that, please help me welcome Miss Grace Calubaquib, AVP and Head of the Surveillance Department of the CMIC. Miss Grace, whenever you're ready.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us and spending a little time to know more about CMIC's programs in investor protection. All
Mhm.
right, okay. So actually, some of the things that I was asked to discuss is the consequences of falling victim to these issues like Martin discussed earlier. So probably we're not actually discouraging you, to invest in alternative forms of investment. We just wanted to let you know about the consequences and in doing so. So I've listed here some of these consequences to let you be aware of this. So basically, you'll get a complex or a set of jargons that you probably might not understand. So this can be the bad thing here is there may not be a product at all. No, so for example, if a salesman or the financial intermediary does not disclose, or discusses the products and might probably too technical for you. So this is actually another consequence, of not understanding the product. So because of this, it may entail higher fees. Unlike when you invest in the stock market, it's very clear what are the fees that you have to pay. So if you want to know more about it, you can visit I think it's in the PSE Academy website. There's a calculator there that if you want how much if you want to sell or buy something, and then you can actually calculate all the fees that you will be paying for. So it's very clear. But unlike in, for example, alternative investments, some of the fees may be hidden. So this can be another consequence in investing in such, no. And another thing is they might be relatively illiquid. So, for example, if you plan to sell already whatever is that investment that you have. So because of the lack of platform, or probably since those it's not traded, everywhere, you might have a hard time selling this asset. So for example, knock on wood that you will be needing the money right away, you will have a hard time, turning this investment into cash. So that's another consequence. And of course, some of these assets or other investment can be very volatile. So it's good if it's always an uptrend or a good trend. Remember, volatility goes both ways. It goes up and sometimes it goes down. So because of this, these investment tend to be high risk. So very high risk. In fact, that I'm not saying all the time. There's a good chance or there's a good probability that you will lose your money. So, for example, if you invested in a financial intermediary that is not registered with the exchange, so it might be difficult, for example, if something happens to, for example, get hold of them. Make sure that when you invest in financial intermediaries like this, you were able to get the SEC uh, purpose and the primary and the secondary purposes. Sometimes they just flash that we are an SEC certified corporation. However, you're not aware of their purposes, their secondary purposes. Sometimes they're not even allowed, for example, to deal in that kind of business. All right. The next thing that I want to discuss are the advantages in investing in regulated assets. So, of course, uh, if you are for example investing in the stock market, so definitely there's someone who looks after, no you or your investment. So, like example, CMIC, not only CMIC, the PSE and the SEC, we look at to make sure that the soundness of the financial intermediaries that you're dealing with. So, like CMIC, we do compliance audit. We audit the books and for example, we look at the RBC or the risk-based capital adequacy of all trading participants, no, or all brokers to make sure that they have a sound financial background. So of course, you don't want to put in your money on a company or an institution that doesn't know how to handle their finances themselves, right? So for CMIC, we look at those, and then we also and another thing to look at, make sure that they follow all the securities laws, no? And another advantage is restrict assets. So probably you're wondering what this means, no? So remember, CMIC and of course PSE, they look at all the companies and they make sure all the listed companies in the PSE roster are financially sound. So for example, in case that this happens, no, they may recommend some appropriate actions like financial rehabilitation. Remember, I think this was, well, due to the pandemic, the SGB issued a disclaimer of opinion, an opinion. Uh, Probably you actually know what I'm talking about. The disclaimer report issued by SGB to PAL, no? To PAL. That's why PSE and then PAL's trading of PAL shares was halted. So restriction there. Because of that, imagine if nobody's looking at your investment or probably the assets or the instruments you are trading or you're investing in. What will happen if you continue or continue investing in such without stabilizing the company, right? And then another thing is another good thing if, for example, somebody is looking after your investment or the market participants, there will be available remedies. No, for example, um, remember several years ago, a certain listed company delisted, and then the exchange, no, facilitated a tender offer. Like for example, I think it was EDC, no, Energy Development Corporation. So EDC, because of the rules of the exchange, no, the shareholders of EDC were able to get the shares or avail of this tender offer before EDC finally delisted. Other, it's not just a personal advantage, no. So basically, we also have a countrywide or for the economy, no. It's good for the economy if you invest in regulated assets. So one, first of all, most of the investors will be protected, and because of this, there will be what they call this, trust in the market, and then the money will definitely move around, and we will have, and of course, because we are keen on looking into protecting the investors, we are also looking at to improve financial regulations constantly. And then we have the underwriters and the book runners are there, and all of these are licensed, of course, and are recommended by the SEC to make sure that the value or the price of a certain stock or IPO, re-IPO are adequate, no? And another advantage again is definitely is to prevent market failure. So that's very important, especially in the economy. Remember, as they say, the PSE index is the barometer of the Philippine economy. Remember last year, because of the pandemic, we had two circuit breakers, no? So last March 12 and March 19. I remember them very vividly. So because of there are regulators, the PSE um, issued a new set of circuit breakers to make sure that the market will be able to handle such incidents or risks. No, so we now have a three-tier circuit breaker. So the 10, 15, and the 20%. No, if the market goes down, so we have several layers of circuit breakers to halt or at least stop the going down of the market. Imagine if it's an unregulated asset, what will happen to your investment? Definitely, it goes down, it crashes, no? And then lastly, of course, well, of course, it will promote yun nga, a macroeconomic stability. As I mentioned a while ago, of course, people will tend to invest in the market. It will create more jobs, and this, of course, money can be loaned, no, to institutions that can build, for example, bridges, buildings, and create jobs, and will definitely move the economy. So another question that I'd like to discuss. So what are the things that CMIC did already, no, for the market? So we were, as mentioned, Martin earlier, CMIC started our operations last 2012, March 2012. So probably the best thing that I can say about how we operate is deterrence, no? So because we have a real-time surveillance. So remember, like I don't know if you're able to pass through NAIA X and Skyway 3. Probably you see most of the cars or the vehicles are running on the required speed limit, right? Like 60 to 80, right? So because you know that there's somebody watching, or probably in the end, you'll probably flag down um, for probably violating the speed limit. That's actually the main purpose of CMIC. Because CMIC is there, um, there's a big chance of deterring this people or institution or group of people to manipulate or probably do some infractions. And then I'd also like to, another thing that we do, probably most of you are not aware of this, CMIC actually we're the ones who see all the transactions or all the trades, not only by the investors, but also the listed companies, the directors and officers of the listed companies. So that's why we are able to validate the authenticity. For example, if they disclose this particular director sold or bought shares, and then actually CMIC can validate those if they are correct, no? So yeah, I see a lot of questions coming in. So, but however, I think we have a Q&A later. So I hope you don't mind if we answer these questions after the presentation. Okay. So I just want to finish this presentation. I'm about to finish anyway. And next we have the TP broker regulation. Um, for the TP broker regulation, actually, for since TMIC's operations, we've suspended several trading participants or brokers uh, from the audit department, no, or our audit, since I think Martin discussed or uh, discussed earlier that they do special and regular audits. So from these audits, we found some brokers or trading participants in violation of certain rules, or their financial capacity went down. That's why we've suspended these brokers. No, so imagine if they continue to operate what would have happened to their investors. Okay, and lastly, check and balances. So for CMIC, we also look at how brokers operate, no? So we look if they comply with not only the CMIC rules, we also look at, for example, if they comply with corporate governance. Do they establish like Chinese wall? So these are very important because, as I mentioned, it creates a certain check and balance, no, within the broker, no, or within the trading participants. What else? So I think these are some of the actions that CMIC has done over the years. I think, and of course, I'd like to emphasize that we've here, no, or we've heard a lot of investor complaints over the years, and we've CMIC acted as a mediator. Now, sometimes it's very difficult to go to court when you go to court. So, if we can at least on the CMIC level, no, mediate between the broker and the investor, no, it's better. Kasi we know that definitely when it goes to court, it will drag on a long time, no. So I think that's one of the good good achievements of CMIC. So I think this is my last slide, and before we go to the Q&A, I'd like to promote. If you have further questions that we will not be able to tackle during the Q&A, please feel free to visit our website, and also you can email us at info@cmic.com.ph.
Again, thank you, Miss Grace, for furthering our knowledge of the breadth that the CMIC goes to in ensuring we only invest in the safest of assets. So now I think it's easy to say that we have gotten a deeper appreciation for what the CMIC does and just how important it is in ensuring that our capital markets function as smoothly as possible. So thank you so much for clearly laying it out to us. Now, before we address your questions and inquiries, please give me a few minutes to show you the latest features and services of FirstMetroSec. So before that, I'm happy to let all of you know that First Metro Securities was recently awarded four different awards from different governing bodies. So we were awarded the Best Brokerage House and Most Innovative Online Trading Platform by the Global Economics. And we were also awarded the Best Online Broker and Best Online Trading Platform by International Finance in 2021. So we're very proud of this, and our drive, our inspiration is in ensuring that our clients are going to be happy with our features and services. Also, if some of you here are not yet clients of First Metro Securities, hopefully you found this event very useful. And in case you want to open your very own stock trading account with First Metro Securities, you can easily do so in 3 easy steps. So number one, especially if you have a QR scanner, feel free to scan the code on your screen right now and just complete 3 easy steps. So visit our website and click on open an account, complete the registration form, and upload the regular documents. Now, in order for us to know that you are an attendee of this event and so we can expedite and offer you free account opening, please don't forget to use the seminar code FMSBC CMIC. So when you're opening up your account, when you're filling up the forms, our system will ask you, where did you learn about us? Kindly simply input in the seminar code FMSBC CMIC so that we will know you attended this event. And we're also happy to let you know that we are the most reliable stock trading platform in the country. In fact, you only need one account for all of your investment needs. So whether you're investing in stocks, in real estate investment trusts, in mutual funds, and even in UITFs and bonds, you can easily do so via your First Metro Securities trading account. Not only that, but we offer you a wide array of different platforms to use. So we have platforms specifically designed for desktops and laptops. We also have a platform for mobile users. Also, like I mentioned earlier, not only can you invest in the stocks and REITs in your First Metro Securities account, you can also invest in pooled funds such as mutual funds and UITFs. And if you want to stay updated on what's happening in the Philippine stock market and and all of the global news, feel free to follow or to join our Viber community. So just scan again the QR code on your screen. So it will offer you our market updates, our announcements, and even notifications and alerts on our market education webinars. Also, if you're joining our Viber community, you might also want to join our Facebook community. So first of all, like our Facebook page and then join our special Facebook group. So you can also, again, scan the QR code on your screen right now. So we also have lots of options when it comes to funding your account. We want you to be able to invest as easily as possible in the Philippine stock market. And so we're offering you multiple funding options. So you can fund your account via Metrobank Online, PS Bank, BDO, BPI, Land Bank, Union Bank, GCash, Metro Remit, coins.ph, and even via 7-Eleven. If you want to know more about the specific instructions on how to do so, feel free to scan the QR code on your screen right now. Also, you might want to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we keep all of our content, including this one. So we're going to be putting this up in our YouTube channel eventually. And aside from that, we collect all of our different webinars spanning different topics related to investing. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for more information, we are likely not going to be able to answer everything that you will ask this evening, especially as it relates to our platform. We want to stick with questions related to the CMIC. So with that said, if you have any questions about the platform, about opening an account, about funding, or any other FirstMetroSec related inquiries, please feel free to visit our website, help.firstmetrosec.com.ph, to access our 24/7 online help desk. Also, we hope you enjoyed this webinar for you, and rest assured we have more webinars in store for you in the coming year. But should you want to invite us for a free webinar for your private group, for your organization, for your company, for your friends, please feel free to invite us. Simply send us an email at marketeducation@firstmetrosec.com.ph. We will be able to accommodate any topic that you want to know about as it relates to investing in the Philippine stock market. So again, thank you very much. And at this juncture, may I once again call on Attorney General and Ms. Calubaquib back to the proverbial floor as we accommodate any questions you may have. So we're seeing lots of questions here. So simply write them down in the designated Q&A section of the platform and we will try to get through as many as we can. So Attorney, Ms. Grace, kindly let me know lang po if you're ready to answer our questions.
Yes, we're ready.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you po. So, we have a question here. If yung broker po yung medyo kulang talaga sa customer service and maybe results to that investor's losses or such, is that a relevant issue that one can address to the CMIC?
Okay, so I'll be answering that question. So, considering that CMIC has jurisdiction over possible violations of the securities laws by the trading participants, this issue may actually be, of course, may be handled by the CMIC. So, si Sir po, or the one who posed that question may actually file a complaint with with our investigation enforcement department. We will be actually directing the trading participant to submit a written explanation.
Thank you, attorney, for that. Nice to know that they have avenues beyond the usual to lodge their complaints. So another question po, I think for Miss Grace, can you give us some examples on how and which companies previously were found violating the rules on trading?
Okay, actually, all these are posted at the CMIC website. So if you browse the CMIC website, we always publish the penalties that we impose on airing trading participants. So there's a description, a short description on the type of violation that they have committed. So, for example, if you're just choosing your trading participant or you don't have a broker yet, it is good to browse our website and look at these infractions that some of the brokers or trading participants have committed. No, um, so some of these they can be very simple, like for example, wrong tagging of an account, and it can be as a grave as, for example, possible market manipulation. So there are there's a description on each violation. So I urge you to check out our website.
Thank you, Miss Grace, for that answer po, no? For making that clear. We have another one here. The question is, are clients slash investors made whole for settlement, pre-settlement failures of the trading participant? Is there a limit to this guarantee, or is it guaranteed only up to a certain amount?
Miss Grace.
Martin. All right, okay. Well, for online clients, no, you have no problem with that, especially if you're an online client of First Metro, because before you do a transaction, no, it's a prepaid no transaction. So probably this goes to traditional trading, or if you are trading via a trader. So some trading participants, they have their own risk parameters, and they'll definitely have this, that for example, if you go over these risk parameters, they will definitely not allow you to transact such. However, in cases that there will be a failed settlement, or if it happens, we have the CGTF, no, the Clearing Guarantee Fund. It's a fund that the SCCP, or the Central Clearing House, that they can cover, no, this failed trades, or for example, the TP was not able, or the client or the contra broker was not able to cover. It will go through a process. However, in my years in the exchange, I have not seen this kind of failure na that it went to the SCCP. So far, most of the trades are okay.
Ayun, thank you. Thank you, Miss Grace. So we're seeing a lot of questions trickling in. So there's a lot of interest po talaga in clarifying most of these things that are not usually discussed often, no? So another question po is this one. What type of document should the trading firm we are dealing with provide their customers as proof that we are stockholders of the stocks we have purchased online? How can we secure our ownership of these shares with hard documents just in case we are not anymore active in online trading?
I'll answer that, Miss Grace na lang, okay. So usually for online clients, the moment that you log into your account, you actually have the comprehensive presentation of your portfolio. So that may actually be used as a basis for saying that I own this particular type of shares, or I own this set of securities. But for traditional clients, of course, they will be basing their claim of ownership on certain documents, such as the statements of account. We also have the client confirmations and other documents that should be submitted or should be given by the trading participant to these customers or clients. Because for online clients, I believe that, or we believe that for hard copies of the statements of account, or even the client confirmations, they have actually sought exemptive relief from the Securities Exchange Commission. So presently, they are in an electronic format. So I think that should address the question.
Thank you,
Actually,
Attorney
to
Mark.
to
Yes.
add on that,
Mm.
um, in case no they want to be really sure, no, they can secure a certificated no shares. So they can request for
Lodgement.
certificated shares naman.
Mm.
So for example, they want to make sure that they have a physical copy of those certificates. They can do
Mm.
request.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Grace, for clarifying that, and also to Attorney Martin. So another question po, what does it mean when you say three levels of circuit breakers? So would you be
Okay.
able to expound on that, Miss Grace?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this a while ago. So remember last year, we've during the start of the pandemic, we've hit a lot of downtrend in the PSE index. So the exchange issued before kasi it's only 10%. When the market hit 10%, less a decline in the previous close no of the PS index. That's it. That's the only circuit breaker. So last May or May 2020, the exchange issued a three-tiered, meaning 10, 15, and 20%. So if the PSEI declines at 10% from the previous close, it will be halted, I think, wait lang, let me check my código. It's 15 minutes, no? And then and again, if it declines for 15% from previous close, 30, and then if 20, 60 minutes. So, of course, well, if this happens during runoff period, it will not cover the 60 minutes anymore. The market will actually continue. So that's the three-tiered circuit breaker. Kasi what you want is to make current to halt no the trend of the decline of the in the index. That's why there's one drop. So I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you, Miss Grace. Thank you for clarifying what those circuit breakers are. I think that's very, very useful for us to know. But I hopefully that we won't be using it anytime soon. No? So we have another question po here. How do you support in educating would-be and first-time investors? Are there any published or provided trainings and presentations that they can use?
Okay. So for that question, actually, we have to emphasize that the Philippine Stock Exchange conducts daily, no, regular webinars. So these webinars actually focus also on investor education, and so regularly invited to speak protection. So these webinars may actually be an avenue for would-be investors or existing investors in order to further educate themselves. And apart from that, we also have several rules that are available for downloading on our website or on the website of the PSE. The Philippine sectors actually focus on several topics or subjects that may be beneficial to the investors or to would-be investors. So the CMIC, are actually invited to speak during these webinars, and we discussed subjects that are that involve investor protection. And apart from that, apart from our participation in these webinars, our website and even the website of the PSE and even the Securities Exchange, several reference materials that may be used by these would-be investors or existing investors. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, attorney, for answering that question. We have another question on the floor. So it asks, what happens if a stock account holder dies? How do our stocks get claimed or transferred to our families?
Okay. Sige. Okay. So in case an investor dies, the well, initially the heirs of the investor has have to inform the trading participant of the death of the investor. So the trading participant usually requests a copy of the death certificate, and apart from that, there may also be other documentary evidence that may be requested by the trading participant in order to prove that apart from the fact that the investor has already died, that the heir is actually entitled, or the heirs are entitled to the shares of stock left by the decedent. So upon presentation of these documents, of that certificate, for example, an extrajudicial settlement or any relevant document, the trading participant may be finally able to transfer the shares of stock or the securities of the decedent to the preferred account of the heirs.
Thank you, attorney, for clarifying that po. No? That's indeed a very, very important detail to know for all investors. For Miss Grace, perhaps you may be able to answer this next question po. What's the PSE's plan on market on close selling or buying?
Let me just clarify the question. Is it are you asking if it's illegal to sell on or buy during market and close? Is that the nature of the question? Or are you asking about extending the trading hour? For the possible first question, actually selling or buying on close is not illegal. So there's actually a lot of trading participants who practice this. So like for example, one of the rationale no on like for example selling or buying on market and close, because usually when you sell or buy near the close of the market, the traded price no or the transaction price is close to the closing price, no. So that's why usually they do that. And because most of the investors, no, especially if it's a fund, most of their investors look at the closing prices of the day. So they expect that the whatever is done, the transaction is actually near the closing price. So that's one of the rationale why most brokers or funds or trading participants they sell on near the close of the market. And if you are worried that, for example, there will be a possible manipulation on that, PSE has implemented already the what we call the close auction, no, on the market. So unlike before, no, it's easy to manipulate the closing price of the market. Definitely, right now, it's still possible, but very very difficult to do that. You will need a lot of money to 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 hit a closing price of the market. And the other one, if you are referring to if the PSE plans to extend trading, there are some talks, but no final decision yet from PSE as about this issue. So just wait for announcements at the PSE website.
Okay, thank you for answering both questions, Miss Grace. So we appreciate you clarifying on all fronts yung question na yon. So with that said, I think we've run out of questions and we're actually at the near the end of our allotted time for this particular webinar. So I would like to again thank all of you. No, thank you so much for all of your questions, and of course, thank you very much to both our speakers for gamely answering them. There were a lot, which goes to show po na talagang the interest is big when it comes to understanding better not just the companies that are listed on the stock exchange, but also the measures being taken to protect the investors that invest in them. Hopefully po, no, we will be able to invite you back as we continue to serve the Filipino investor in the best way possible. So there you have it. Once again, on behalf of First Metro Securities Brokerage Corporation, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Attorney General and Ms. Calubaquib for gracing us with their time and presence. Thank you, Attorney. Thank you, Ms. Grace. No, it truly is an evening well spent. And of course, thank you to everyone who attended tonight. We sincerely hope you learned a lot and that these insights and lessons will make your investment journey not just more profitable, but also more enjoyable. So perhaps Miss Grace, Attorney Martin, you have some final statements, final words for our attendees in this event as they head off onto their investment journey.
Yeah. Okay. So, ikaw na muna siguro, Miss Grace. Any final
All right,
messages?
ladies first.
Okay.
Okay, first I'd like to thank everybody for sticking around and joining this webinar. It only goes to show that you really you want to protect your investment because any investment that before we go in, we should invest time, no, in knowing about it. And I'd like to promote already before we end. CMIC already launched our online investor complaints. So, for example, if you have a complaint against your broker or the trading participant, you don't need to call us or even email us. We already have it on the website because all the information that we need is there. Because these are the things that usually emails go back and forth, no? So we suggest that you check out the website first, and so you'll know all the information that we'll be needing from you to complete or to process your complaint. Okay, that's it for me. And by the way, as Martin mentioned a while ago, we accept tips. Anonymous can be, we also accept anonymous tips. These tips, they're very helpful to us because we are not, for example, we're not able to monitor all online, for example, social media. So we appreciate everything that all the investors uh, sends our way. And thank you. And keep it coming.
So actually, so in relation to what Miss Grace has said, we actually, yeah, we have launched our online filing of the complaints. So we also have to emphasize that we do not charge any filing fee. We actually appreciate receiving complaints against trading participants, so we can actually enforce the securities laws as it is our obligation under our CMIC rules. So we also appreciate your participation in the seminar, and we, of course, we recognize your the necessity for knowing that your investments are protected. So thank you and good evening.
Yon. So thank you po again, Miss Grace, Attorney Martin, for joining us here this evening. And again to everyone, hopefully madami po tayong natutunan. And we hope to see you again in our future learning events because over here at First Metro Securities, we put your future first. So to everyone, Attorney Martin, Miss Grace, thank you so much. Have a good evening po and continue to keep safe. So see you all around. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.